Hey everyone. Okay, so first thing to talk about is reveal that Shaka's assassin is in fact York, and that everything she's been doing, all the plotting, all the scheming she's been doing behind the scenes, and up until the point where she finally felt the need to reveal herself to Vegapunk, she reveals at the end of the episode she's been doing all this in order to become a celestial dragon. Which, okay, there's a lot to unpack there. First and foremost, though, I do like how it does thematically. This reveal does thematically fit with her being representative of Vegapunk's greed, and how, even though up to this point her greed has been portrayed more as gluttony, consuming everything she gets her hands on, while still hiding her true desires and the power she craves. And it's interesting when comparing that to Vegapunk himself, with how, despite how much he may outwardly despise the government and all that it represents, we have to kind of accept the fact that York is still part of Vegapunk, and through York, I think through York's desires, it's very revealing in the sense where there might be a small part of Vegapunk that does crave that power, even if he won't outwardly admit it. Now, in regards to becoming a celestial dragon, that's where the discussion gets a little interesting because, from my understanding of world government history, politics, all that, I don't think you can just become a celestial dragon. It's a title that's gifted by right of birth, i.e., the 20 kings and queens that founded the world government. And technically 19, since the Nefertari family never accepted becoming celestial dragons, but it's like, and as because of that knowledge, as far as I know, there's no real like selection process towards becoming a celestial dragon. Again, as far as I know, so really that can only mean the five elders have likely fed her a bunch of bullshit to get her to do in order to in order to get her in order to do their dirty work like they always do. And it's this part especially, I think, is becoming especially clear and more apparent with the manga right now. So as much as I get the idea, like, it's kind of all for naught. Like, there is pretty much no scenario here I can imagine where York actually becomes a celestial dragon. This is just them kind of like just feeding into a lie in order to get York to kind of in order to keep her in line and do exactly what they want. Like, that they're gonna keep holding that whole idea of her becoming a celestial dragon over their head until their mission is completed by the end of this. So it's like, I don't like I said I don't think there's a way for her to truly become a celestial dragon. So yeah, York is being. I like how York probably doesn't realize she's being used, or maybe she does and just is kind of giving in to her greed in a way, you could say. But yeah, um, and yeah, I also really liked how this episode did address the fact that the stakes of the situation that how this episode did address the stakes of the situation, that even though it's similar to Ohara, in some ways it's all the worse because Vegapunk has spent years developing and learning of the culture and technology from the Void Century, and even though it has been under the watchful eye of the government, it was really only a matter of time before they inevitably came knocking down Egghead's front door with a whole fleet of ships, because even as an asset to them, he knows too much. Although that doesn't mean he's not going to put up a fight in his own way. And yeah, that's the funny thing about revisiting this material through the anime to me. On the surface, it does appear like everyone on Egghead has been trapped in the government's web, but as Sentomaru pointed out, this is the island of science, and because of that singular difference from Ohara, the government is fighting on Vegapunk's home turf, where no matter what happens, he kind of has an advantage in a way. And because of that very distinct difference, the government and Marines are just as much walking into a trap as much as they are laying one. And I feel this is even more compounded when we see how this all started 3 months ago and what's led up to the events in the present. Like, after after that first visit the government paid, there was no way Vegapunk wasn't prepared for this pretty much outcome, to the point where even when he asked Luffy to escape, that this episode definitely confirms Escape was only like part one of whatever plan he's cooked up in order to counter in order to counter whatever attack that the government poses against him. So it's like, yeah, I think Vegapunk is much more prepared for this attack than what we've probably seen. Um, Although the funniest bit about that whole little bit about what happened 3 months ago is how, in typical fashion, the Straw Hats really just kind of stumbled into all this by pure chance. Like, there was pretty much no intent for them to end up on Egghead or anything like that. It's just all by pure chance, and somehow, like a typical fashion with the Straw Hats, they just kind of ended up smack dab in the middle of everything. Again, I'm I'm sure in a lot of people's mind it's more than chance, but it's like, yeah, like, how can you, like, seriously, that's just, wow, like, what are the, it's one of those things where I do kind of simple as Zoro, like, what are the fucking chances of that happening? Um, and yeah, aside from that, not much else to talk about, despite the reveal at the end. It was a pretty straightforward episode. Although one thing I do like that this episode also did, when we see York contacting the government over transponder snail, is they did add a noise filter over top, like again a simple and obvious like technical touch in order to drag out until the reveal, but a nice little detail that really adds to the effect of just how resourceful York is, despite how much of an oaf she comes across on the surface. And it is interesting how, in a way, Vegapunk and York have been playing this very intricate game of chess with each other to really see who comes to, and where it really came down to who makes the first big move. And right now, York is the one who made the first big move, but again, I I think Vegapunk is just planned for this whole outcome to begin with. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. Enjoy the video, like, comment, subscribe from me on Twitter, Analyst Crunchyroll, be sure to notification bell with the subscribe button, and just for guys. Dark Knight Renee signing off. Later, everyone.